week in the Backyard Farmer Garden, we're going to look at what we were doing this winter again. This year, the National Garden Bureau has made 2018 the year of the tulip. We knew this was coming, so we decided that we wanted a river of tulips in our garden. So we ordered 1,500 red and white tulips. Master gardeners put these down in late October, early November, and look at the results. We have a beautiful river running down along our rain chain, highlighting the red and white of the huskers. We also have some stuff coming up in our perennial garden. As you can see, we have some asparagus. It's the third year for our asparagus, both the purple and the green. So this year we'll be able to harvest a tiny little bit of asparagus and have some grilled asparagus with our dinners sometime this spring. So stop by the Backyard Farmer Garden and check out the garden. This week in the Backyard Farmer Garden, we're going to check out what we have left in our herb garden. Last year, our herb garden looked really good. We had a lot of wonderful herbs that we added to our culinary experiences in the Backyard Farmer Garden. We do have a handful of perennial herbs that made it pretty well through the winter. As you can see, we have a couple different kinds of chives. We have the geisha garlic chive, which is an All-America Selection winner. Just plain regular chives that are great on top of a baked potato. We also have some oregano and we have some sage. Those are both great winter hardy herbs here in Nebraska. Along with our perennial herbs, we will be adding a bunch of annual herbs to our garden too. We have basil and cilantro already started in the greenhouse. So as soon as it's warm enough, we'll be bringing those back out to add to our perennial herbs. So if you have a garden and you want to add some herbs to your garden, these are great ones to be adding. Stop by the Backyard Farmer Garden and check them out. Getting pretty excited in the Backyard Farmer Garden this week. We brought all of our plants out of the greenhouse. They have hardened off. We've separated them between veggies and flowers so we kind of know what's what. We put the shade stuff down in the shade so that they can harden off in the shade and not get too much sun. And then now we're starting to do our containers, and containers are so much fun and they're so versatile. Everyone should have at least one container in their home. Even people that live in an apartment can have a container. Couple things that you should really look at when you are doing containers is you want really good soil. Make sure that you go by high quality soil. That's the base of all your plants, and that's where your plants are gonna live, those roots, and you wanna give it a good home for them to live. You want to use slow release fertilizer in the container when you first plant your flowers. And then you want to remember the 3 design rules: thriller, filler, spiller. Those 3s, that thriller is that big cool thing that you're going to show off in your plant. Those fillers are going to be all that texture and color that's going to play off that thriller. And then the spillers are going to be those nice softening plants that are going to fill over the sides of your container. That's what's going to make a great container. So stop by the Backyard Farmer Garden and check ours out for ideas. This week in the Backyard Farmer Garden, we're getting all of our veggies in. We did a little bit of pre-planting this winter, and we wanted to make sure that we had all the supports that we possibly could to make sure that all of our plants are happy early when they're going in. So that's one thing you need to remember. Buy those little plants. Those little plants are going to get big eventually throughout the summer. So we have several different supports in our garden. We kind of have this kind of horseshoe-like thing that you can sit around a tomato. You're going to have to kind of help it through and kind of weave it in. We have just the basic 10 by 10 welded wire mesh. You can either make a big cylinder out of it. What we like to do is use a couple T-posts and kind of make like a serpentine and then weave our tomatoes through that. We have the regular basic tomato cage that everybody's used for years that you can buy at any garden store. We have some fun things like this A-frame. We do have to make sure that it gets staked down because it will blow over in the wind. And then we have a couple kind of cool ones. We have this one with string for some string beans to climb up, or some cantaloupe or some cucumbers that's going to climb up that. So stop by the Backyard Farmer Garden and check out and see all of our structures to hold our plants up this summer.
This week in the Backyard Farmer Garden, our master gardeners and great boots on the ground workers have gotten everything planted. So every space, with the exception of maybe a couple of edges, is filled with beautiful annuals, vegetables. We'll be anxious to see what happens this year, especially with our All-America selections, and see whether or not some of the plants that we have placed in combination with one another really look good by the end of the season. So we're making sure that our plants are soaked well enough to be able to get them through a long weekend, be able to accommodate the wind and the sun and the increasingly hot temperatures for the summer months. We don't want to have things fry in our Backyard Farmer Garden, because then it's pretty impossible for us to be able to show you what works well and for you to enjoy that and then decide whether you want to use some of our plants that we talk about on the show in your own gardens at home. And that is what's happening this week in the Backyard Farmer Garden.